Hello, this is Red Sky Inferno, and thank you for tuning in today. Today we are going to start doing a new Let's Read series. And we're actually going to be reading some of my work, some of my fan fictions that I have worked on myself. As many know, hopefully, fan fictions are basically our own versions of our favorite stories, our favorite books, or even movies that we see on TV. We just add in our own characters or we change the plot to what we want it to be. Kind of understand what I'm going for here? At least, hopefully. Well, on that note, my story, the one that we are going to be reading today, sorry, words can't speak apparently, is actually A Kidnap in Time. And it is actually a Harry Potter fan fiction. There is romance in this story. Most of it is later on, though, and my actual story is actually rated M for mature. A lot of the content I will not be actually reading due to either violence or something that may be graphic. If you do want to read the original work, I will have the link down below. As I put out the chapters, obviously at this point I have several chapters out. I will do a new update of the new video for the story. And on that note, we will begin. Today we are starting with chapter 1, and it is called A Royal Change. Okay. Let's get some background music on before we start. Alrighty. It was the year 1945, and Lucius Malfoy had recently graduated from Hogwarts. Currently, he was attending a special ball hosted by the Court of the Demon Community. Apparently, there was a big announcement and just about every pureblood wizard family had been invited. In this day and age, it was common for a pureblood family to carry the blood of a dark creature. The Malfoys themselves were actually descendants of drakelings, a more commonly known medium-sized winged serpent that were similar just a bit to dragons. Lucius was proud of his heritage and made no attempt to hide the shiny silver markings on his neck that showed his inheritance. Currently, Lucius was milling about a group of purebloods in the ballroom. Glancing about, he recognized just about few faces in the crowd. Crabbe and Goyle, McNair, Snape, even the Lestrange trio, and Nott. Just before he decided to attend to his own affairs, he caught sight of his best friend, Tom Riddle. He couldn't help but smile as Riddle just charmed his way through a group of women before approaching him. "Lucius, how good it is to see you. Have you been settling in as Lord Malfoy?" Riddle asked him with a slight smirk. Sighing, he tried not to sneer at his friend. "No, I'm not. Despite how easily it is to act the part, I still would have preferred a job with unspeakables. Any idea what the announcement is going to be, Riddle?" Riddle shook his head no, before starting a polite conversation. A while passed before an older demon called the Viscount, that was part of the court, made his way to the stage at the front of the room. Clearing and pointing a wand at his throat, he spoke to the joined purebloods. "Good evening and welcome to our annual ball. Though usually we hold this ball closer to Yule, we have a very important announcement." The man smiled to the crowd and motioned for a group to fetch something. "This year, for the first time in decades, the royal family was blessed with a gift. The gift was that of a child, for the first time to ever be conceived by a man without magic involved." At this, the group of wizards began to whisper in excitement. "As only a select few know, when an heir is born, the court, that's us, is entrusted with a special task and must hold a ball to reveal the heir's mate and his protector, the 2 wizards that are to protect them for the rest of their life. The Viscount paused as several men carried trays of wine glasses to the stage, filled with a blue liquid. Here in front of you is a liquid tuned to the air's magic. When consumed, fate will choose the mate and protector and magically mark them with a silver mark on their hand. Now ask everyone in this hall to retrieve a glass, the man said before people lined up to pick up a glass, and then returning to the crowd. Once everyone had a glass, the man signaled for everyone to drink. Silence reigned in the room as everyone drank the liquid and waited for something to happen. It didn't take long when someone screamed in pain before falling to their knees, a red light enveloping them. Everyone looked towards the light and noticed that it was none other than Tom Riddle that was kneeling, trying to control his breathing. Riddle glanced about before looking down at his right arm that seemed to be tingling. A silver tattoo had wrapped around his engagement finger before it trailed over the back of his hand and wrapped around his wrist. A small smile graced his features before he spoke up. I'm the mate. Within moments, another light went off, and this time Lucius had collapsed. Everyone expected him to be the protector, but he looked up in confusion when he had the same mark. Mate? But I thought there's only supposed to be one, Lucius said, before the hall lit up with 8 more lights. Now everyone was just confused and befuddled as all the chosen people approached the stage. Severus Snape, Lucius Malfoy, and Tom Riddle stood together with mate tattoos, while Crabbe, Goyle, McNair, Nott, and the 3 Lestranges stood together with protector tattoos. Unlike the mate one, the protector tattoos simply wrapped around the wrist. Well, this is an amazing occurrence. Only once before has more than 2 people been chosen, and that was to the late King Reuben. May he rest in peace. It is said that the more powerful the heir, the more protectors and mates chosen. The Viscount spoke again, beaming with happiness. Snape, Malfoy, and Riddle seemed to be beaming with joy at the thought of having a chosen mate, their tattoos shimmering in excitement. The Viscount smiled. I dare say this is a sign of change, and hopefully for the better. Now, without further ado, let me introduce our heir and our prince, Zah! The Viscount was cut off, as suddenly somebody burst into the ballroom, doused in blood. The man was gripping his side and looked like he had been through hell. Sir Viscount, the prince, he's been taken, the man gasped out before collapsing from blood loss. The hall was in a panic as the Viscount led the mates and protectors to the prince's room. It didn't take long for the group to reach their prince's rooms, and the sight they found was a shocker. The room was torn apart, and the prince's crib was demolished into pieces. Several guards just lay dead on the ground, covered in wounds. The mates couldn't help but let out a petulant whine of remorse, as they weren't sure if their mate was dead or what, as their tattoos slowly dulled to a pale gray. Scene change. A blue-robed figure chuckled to himself in a dark room. A crystallized orb floated nearby with what looked to be an infant inside of it, seemingly frozen in time. The man drifted closer to the orb with a grin. While stroking the orb, he couldn't help but think to himself, "With you out of the way, I shall have no trouble becoming the most powerful wizard. Maybe, just maybe, I'll find a place for you in the future. Until then, sleep, my dear prince." And so ends our first chapter. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you come back again. I will be recording the next chapter here soon, so hang tight, or feel free to go into the description below and select the link straight to the story. I hope to try and start updating more often as well, so hey, you might be able to read the chapter before I'm able to make a video. And I'll speak to you guys all next time. Have a nice day.